Welcome to Flash Tutorial 10, Arrays 1 Basics. I'm going to do a few short videos on arrays. I don't personally use them very much, and maybe you'll get something from them. I'm going to start by opening a new FLA. Keep action script 3. OK. And basically, array is a place to store. It stores in an order, in a sequence. You can put things in them and take things out. They can be variables, they can be numbers, they can be strings. So let's start by selecting this layer, call it ActionScript AS. Open the Actions panel and type in this little bit of code. Type. We're making a variable. We're going to call it first array. If you haven't learned before, this is your first one. Colon. Array is I think they call this the class or the type. Equals a new array. A new array, I look at that as being like an instance, another one. Open, close bracket, semicolon. And arrays have a lot of things in them. And one of the things you can do is determine the length of an array by tracing, TRACE, that turns blue. Open bracket, copy first array, paste it in, period, length. It's all small letters, turns blue, close bracket, semicolon. And because we haven't put anything in this array, it will trace 0. Means I have no elements in my array. Back to my Actions panel. And I'm just going to comment this one out. I've highlighted all. Click here, I block commented, so it doesn't get shown. And let's do another example. Type. Again, variable. This is going to be my second array. Colon array equals new array. Open bracket 5, close bracket, semicolon. And again, I'm tracing it, the second array this time. Now, because I have put a 5 in there, I'm specifying that this array can handle up to 5 items. So when I trace it, it should trace 5. And yes, indeed, 5. Let's do the same thing here. Let's comment this out, highlight it, comment it out, and let's try something a little more. Type. This is my third array, following the same format up here. Equals new array. Now we're going to put some more things in the bracket. We're actually going to put things in that we can use, that we can see. Okay. So it says new array, open bracket, quotation mark, Tom, close quotation, comma, then I got 343, comma, quotation, Dick, close quotation, comma, quotation mark, Harriet, close quotation mark, comma, 667, close bracket, semicolon. And here again, I'm asking it to trace the length. And again, it should trace 5. Control, test movie, test. And it says 5. Now, this time it traced 5 because I had 5 elements separated by commas. There's 1, that's a string, 1. There's a number, 2, another string, 3, another string, 4, and another number, 5. So that's why it traced 5. Up here, it traced 5 because we're telling it that I want 5 elements and there's no commas. So it just treats that as the number of elements that I want to put in the array. Let's do a little more on this array, the third one here. put a couple enters and type this code. Type. And up here, and this is where we want to try to keep track. Up here, we're asking it to trace the length of the array. There's 5 things in our array, so we're going to get a 5 when we trace it. But down here, we're telling it to trace individual things. For example, we're saying here, trace third array, the 0 element. So now this is something you got to learn about arrays. If I have an array that contains 5 elements, the first one is called the 0. This is number 1, this is number 2, number 3, number 4. So the highest number I have is 4, and the lowest number I have is 0, so there's actually 5 in it, as we've seen when we traced it. So now, when we tell it to trace the 0 position, it's going to trace Tom. So this line says trace, T-R-A-C-E, turns blue, open bracket, third array, and here we have an open square bracket, 0, close square bracket, close bracket, semicolon. So when we're going for a specific element, from 0 to 4 in this case, we would have that number 0 or 2 or 3 or 4 inside square brackets. This one is the first position. Okay, so it's going to trace this 343. All right, this one's telling it to do the third position. So 0, 1, 2, 3. This is going to trace Harriet. Harriet. H-A-R-R-I-O-T-T. Harriet. And this last one, number 5, well, if this only has 5 elements, then there's no 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will trace undefined. I think that's what it traces. U-N-D-E-F-I-N-E-D. Now, this is what you got to learn if you're going to use arrays. So before you test it out, try to grasp what you're going to see. We're asking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to be traced. So the first one is going to be the length of an array, and it's going to be 5. This is asking for the 0 position, which is the word Tom. Then we're asking for the first position, which is here. So that will show us the 343. Then we're asking for the third position, 0, 1, 2, 3, which is Harriet, and then defined. So we're going to see 5 Tom, 343 Harriet, and undefined. That's it. 5 Tom, 343 Harriet, and undefined. So I would suggest if you're not getting that, then you stay here and keep trying this till you get it. If not, you're just going to have a whole bunch more of blah 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 come your way. Okay, if you got that, we're going to comment this out. Right to there. Yep. Commenting that out. And go down the bottom, couple of enters, and type. Now, I have a variable this time. Variable, var, I'm calling it variable, colon, number, capital N-U-M-B-E-R, turns blue, equals 44, and a semicolon. That's just a variable, called variable. Now I'm making my array variable. Variable, I'm calling it items, colon, array, equals new array, same format, and I have an open bracket, then I have 4 variables in my, or 4 items in my array, quotation, John, quotation, comma, variable, that's this variable, comma, quotation, David, close quotation, comma, 667, close bracket, semicolon, and First thing I'm going to do is trace the name of my variable as item. Trace item, period, length, close bracket, semicolon. Then I'm going to trace just like we did up here. You could actually copy these and change the name. So I'm going to trace item 0. I'm going to trace item 1, trace item 2, and trace item 3. And I don't know if I mentioned back here that these are square brackets here. These are square brackets. Okay, so now when we trace this one, the first thing we're going to do is see the length, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to see a 4. We're asking for the 0 item, so we're going to see John. Then we're asking for the first item, and this is the first item, and that's the variable, so that number is 44. So that's why that's 44. Then the second number is David, and then the third one's this. So we're going to see 4 John, 44 David, 667. 4 John, 44 David, 667. So you can see how to use a variable when you're using this array. And I think that's enough for this short tutorial. Again, I suggest before you bother going to the number 2 on these arrays that you go through this one until you get it. Otherwise, you're just going to hear a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah. Hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you can use what you learned.